How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm okay. But you've had a busy old time recently, haven't you?
I had a busy weekend. I'm still recovering from the weekend.
Yeah.
Leeds
So tell
Car was it
everybody who
Leeds
you are and what
Castle?
you do, just so we get that out of the way.
Okay. I run the Drivers Union Supercar Club. Although now it's just we also have a classic and sports car club, and I've been organising supercar meets and events and filming stuff. I did something for Amazon Prime. I'm a filmmaker. I also do magazines as well. I've been doing it for now for coming up to October this year. It'll be 20 years involved in the supercar business
Wow.
industry in one form or another. First event I ever organised was in October 2005.
That's amazing, isn't it? And how
Yeah.
time flies, right? But this is the thing, it's like you're underselling this, but you are, you run the largest supercar club in the
No,
UK.
it's not really. It's not really largest supercars. It might be the largest mixed market. It all depends on what you define as a supercar. The Ferrari Owners Club have got 2,500 members, so they've got 1,000 more members. But
Okay,
they've been going
let's
for
say
50 years.
multi-mark. Let's say multi-mark. Let's say multi-mark then.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're probably up there. Yeah. I mean, it, clubs never tell the truth about how many members they have. Number one. Right, so you never know. So it's very hard to compare. They always turn around and say, "Well, we've got 400, but let's just say 700." Data protection. They're not going to show. They can't show the
Yeah.
numbers. Um, so it's very hard to judge on that. But we are one of the top tier, if there is top tier of supercar clubs. So, um, we're partners with we're the only partners with certain brands like Brands Hatch and London Concourse. And we get invited to lots of stuff. So we are, yeah. So I've been doing something right.
A brown car guy. Brown car guy.
For anybody watching and joining us on Instagram, if anybody can see that, that's what I'm seeing. But I know some people saying that the edges are cut off, but that's what I'm seeing. So I think when you first go into it, when you press the live, this is on Instagram, when you press the live, you can see both side by side. But if you go into detail, then it will expand and it will cut the edges off. So that's a problem. So, well, I don't know how many people. Well, there's 2 people watching on Instagram. So that's what's happening on Instagram. So yeah, we lost Si for a minute there. Let's try and get him back. Are you back?
If it cuts out again, I'll go upstairs
Yeah.
into my little office stroke bedroom
Yeah.
area.
It could be
But
because what are you on your home Wi-Fi? Are you on your home Wi-Fi?
now I'm on 5G. I'm sitting in.
Are you using? You're
I'm
on
sitting in the
data.
Ferrari in the garage.
So what are you sitting in?
The Ferrari 360 Spider.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like the sound is really bad. You can
I'll
barely
tell,
hear you.
I'll tell you
You
what, give
might
me two
have to go
minutes.
inside and
Yeah, give me 2 minutes. Give
jump
me
on the
2 minutes.
Wi-Fi. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll keep
2 minutes. I'm
I'll
back.
keep people engaged. I'll keep people engaged
All right.
whilst you're doing that. Then, right. So it's funny because we're talking about supercars, and one of the things that happened this week, I don't know if you saw that in the news, was that a bunch of supercars got confiscated in central London. So in central London, there was a police crackdown, and they confiscated a bunch of cars, and they found that a lot of them were without insurance, were without driving licenses. They found some people that were here illegally. They found basically car thieves. So I mean, it's a good thing. But the headline story was that there were a couple of purple Lamborghinis, there were a couple of very high-end cars, and some of these cars were from the Middle East, as they often are. Actually, a few years ago, back when I was still editor of Car Middle East magazine in the Middle East, I actually did a feature. I did a whole day of traipsing around the West End, catching up with some of these cars, and catching up with some of the drivers and the owners, and speaking to people and finding out who they were and what they were doing. So trying to what the thing that amazed me about these cars and that situation is that these people were shipping these cars over from wherever, Kuwait, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, etc., Qatar, and they were shipping them over. So they were going to all that trouble of shipping over these cars all the way from the Middle East, and they were very powerful, very high powered cars, really fun cars. And what they were doing was that they were only just driving around, within Knightsbridge and Kensington. So I don't know if you saw this side, but this just this last week, police did a crackdown in central London, didn't they? And they basically confiscated a whole bunch of supercars. Did you catch up with that?
Yeah, I read it. I read that with quite great interest. I was trying to see if I recognised any of the cars.
Yeah.
Um, See, I mean, God, I'm a bit out of breath running up the stairs. But, 2005, when I did my first ever meet, was in central London,
Yeah.
in Regent's Park.
Yeah.
We had 36 Ferraris, we were driving around, and I've been doing that most years, for the last 20 years. But now it's very, very hard to do. And the police do sort of like wait for you to catch you out. But a lot of them didn't have insurance.
Yeah. So in this particular case, I think a lot of them, I mean, they did find they found a lot of bad guys, put it that way. They found people without insurance. They found people that didn't have registration. Some of the cars were stolen.
Warrants for arrest.
Some of them had warrants for arrest. Some of them had immigration issues. So there were problems there. But there were some. The thing I was talking about was because I remember covering this story a few years ago when I was editor of Car Magazine in the Middle East, and I came over here and I did a day of traipsing around London, catching up with all the people that were bringing the cars over from the Gulf states. And they were legitimately bringing them over, and they were just bringing them over to have a good time. And obviously, when they come here, they spend a lot of money, so they're legitimate tourists. And what I was lamenting about was the fact that they never actually took them outside of that Knightsbridge, Kensington area. They only just drove them around there. So these really powerful supercars, and that's as far as they went. But at the end of the day, those cars and their presence, they create something for tourists to see. They create, and is there an aspect of London? They bring money into the city. Now, catching all the other criminals is fine, but is it really a good idea to be picking on those guys?
Do you know what? When they said supercars, I don't think all of them were supercars. There was like a 4x4 Mercedes as well. So I think supercars is a very nice tag to have in a headline.
Yeah,
Supercars arrested and confiscated. Mercedes confiscated doesn't sound as good. You know what? Look, if they haven't got insurance yet, they should have their cars taken away. If they've got criminal records, lock them up. If the car's stolen, lock them up. I don't have a problem with that. The sound, you know what? A supercar is loud. You've heard my one. My one's silly.
Oh, yours is very loud. That's not a regular Ferrari 360 by any stretch.
But no, technically, no, yeah, it is. I mean, it's a challenge to Ridley exhaust. Capista cats, but the other 360 who was driving me, he's actually decatted.
Right. Oh, right. Okay.
That was a bit, won't mention his name, but I mean, I know there's a sort of a celebrity friend of mine who's got Lambos, and his name's Danny. Right? So some people probably already figured out who it is. But he got done at one point because he had a really, really loud exhaust on his Lamborghini, and he was issued a warning: "Don't come back here, otherwise we'll take your car away." There are guys there who do rev their cars. I've seen it. We did it once. I mean, I remember we did it on the first meet I did in 2005. Off of Regent Street, we'd come to the Baker Street, Regent Street junction. So I'm at the traffic lights. On the left of me is John Lewis.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Selfridges, big Selfridges.
Oh, right, gotcha.
Right? And I'm at the front because I'm leading the pack. And I've got about, I think there's 36 cars in total, but it must have been about 25, 30 because a few were behind. Suddenly, somebody starts revving. They all start revving. And because it was like a bit of a narrow street, the sound's reverberating. It sounded fantastic.
Yeah.
And, and as I drove around the corner, all of Oxford Street, people were just like standing there, just stationed. This is 2005, before, camera phones, before, social media, anything. And we drove past. And those people were thinking, what the hell is all these Ferraris doing just driving around? If we did it today, we'd get arrested. That's the difference.
It's kind of tragic, really.
But then, just to stop, whenever we drive our cars, you got people turning around and saying, rev it, rev it, rev it, rev it.
Yeah.
That's what annoys me sometimes, because I always get people saying, rev it, rev it, rev it. You come out of
No,
an
but
event.
but isn't that a natural reaction? I mean, and sometimes if I've had, say, for example, a Mustang and I've been driving around, every time I park up, somebody has said, rev it. And then you immediately oblige because you're like, hey, why not? Let's share the fun. But that's kind of, I mean, to me, that's a good thing because people like the car, they get excited by it, they want to hear it. Hearing a car, hearing a traditional internal combustion engine is still something that's very powerful and evocative. And, it is really the fun police, really, that's sort of killing that off,
Well, yeah, but I get it. We get it sometimes when we're leaving an event. So the car's been, parked up for hours and hours. Our engines are cold.
Yeah.
We've just started the car. We've driven it for like 30 seconds. My 360 takes about 15 minutes to warm up sometimes,
Yeah.
on a cold day. I mean, I asked her to rev it. I think it happened a few weeks back. I was leaving an event and my engine's cold, and some young chap said, "Oh, rev it, rev it, rev it." And I just I didn't rev it. And all I heard was, "Tosser!"
You can't win either way.
It's just, I remember one time I was driving around in Soho in my free for eight. Used to have a free for eight, and Soho's like, it must have been about 15 years ago. And I was driving through it, and there's loads of people. I'm just trying for the traffic. And Soho, for those who don't know, is a very kind of very gay by kind of area, and I was driving through, but. Cruising through,
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Cruising. Yeah, okay.
yeah. So and there's other people, and my window was open, and and I heard this guy turn around and say in a very loud voice, "Oh, I bet he's got a small penis."
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
because I've got a big car. But going back to the revving, we don't want to rev it when it's cold. We don't want to rev it.
But also excessive revving, because I'm just responding to one of the people that just replied, or just left a comment on, I think it's Ibrahim actually, he's left a comment on YouTube, and he's just saying, I have to say, I'm not a fan of owners revving engines when actually at a car show. And actually I agree with that, because what happens there is that you're in a very self-contained environment, everybody whips out their phones, and then it just goes ballistic, it goes a little bit crazy. But just the occasional, I don't want to hear a car bouncing frantically off the rev limiter like it's about to explode. I want to hear the car in its natural element, so it's just naturally revving off. But talking of loud revs, I remember when I was back in the UAE, and Roush, which is a sort of a performance tuning company in America that focuses on Ford Mustangs, they had just brought in for the first time ever the Roush Mustang into Dubai. And the official dealer had it, so it was being sold through the official Ford dealer, but it was just Roush modified. Actually, I think they gave it a special edition name. I think they called it the Shamal. And I reviewed the car. It had an exceptionally loud exhaust, exceptionally loud. So every morning when I would start it up, I had it for a few days, and I started up, and it would wake up the neighborhood. It was crazy. I loved it. And of course, I wrote a brilliant review. I enjoyed the car, and I told everybody go out and buy it. And actually, a load of people did. A load of people did buy it. And then I started getting people complaining to me. And they were complaining to me because they said, Shazad, you said this car was brilliant. It is. We bought it. We drove it down the road. We got stopped by the police. And now we have a 3,000 dirham fine. And so the problem with that was that the police looked at the car and they saw the Roush stickers and they thought it's a modified car. And the rule in Dubai at the time, I don't know if it's changed, but it was like 1,000 decibel limit as long as the car
1,000? You mean 100? 1,000?
Sorry, 100
would be like, it'll kill us. It'll kill you. 1,000.
100 decibel limit. Yeah, sorry, 100 decibel limit.
Disintegrate.
Boom, 100 decibel limit, as long as it was OEM, so original manufacturer equipment, right?
Yeah.
And so eventually what happened is that the dealer, Altair in Dubai, they had to start issuing letters to every single owner to keep in the car, officially certified, accredited letter that certified that this car was OEM and it had the actual exhaust that was meant to be on it. Otherwise, everybody was getting fined 3,000 dirhams. But I love the sound of a V8 revving. You can't help it.
Well, I agree with Ibrahim. Don't rev at car events, and you hear him. And I always, if I'm with someone, I always turn around and say, "Hey, listen, let's get his chassis number so I know not to buy that car because that's going to be Because the other problem is that people don't see. I own my car. Most people don't own their car these days, especially the newer models, because it's all leased. You have it for a year, 2 years. You don't care.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say shit? They don't give a shit.
Yeah. Say
right?
whatever you want.
They don't give a shit. They'll rev their cars. They'll drive it when it's cold, like really fast, straight out of the garage, bang, off they go.
Yeah.
It's not good for the car. Whereas if you own it, we're a little
Yeah.
bit more. We're more careful.
Yeah.
We I always wait until it's warmed up and then I go into. We're talking about loud exhaust. Amir, you know Amir.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, he's got a yellow
Diablo SV.
That's it, right? So
Yeah.
he lives over there, across the road from me, right? So I'm going to tell you two stories about him. So my mum lives with me, or I live with my mum, which way boy, look at it really. So I can afford a Ferrari. No,
Fair enough.
So he said to me, "Oh, I'm going to rev my car when I go past." He did it to try to wind me up. So my mum and I were in our back garden, and we live in a corner house. So he drives around here, and he goes revving really loud. And my mum turns around and goes to me, "What on earth is that? Who is that? Who is that?" And I go, "Oh, that's Amir," you know. And she goes, "Oh, but to me, you know." I love words with him.
Yeah.
And another time, because I know his car's really loud. It is loud, right?
Yeah.
I've been
No,
behind
it is. It is definitely loud. I think it won the sound off one year, didn't it? At one of our events. I think at one of the events that we did at Brands Hatch. I think you won the sound off.
Well, one day I was here. I had my curtains drawn like this because the light was coming in, and this is my computer screen. I was probably video editing, and I heard a noise outside. And I thought, oh, bloody hell, it's Amir, and he's parked outside just to annoy me. And I look out the window, and there was somebody digging a road out with a pneumatic.
Oh, right.
Right, and it sounded just like his car, you know.
That's a bit. That's either you revealing that despite all your 20 years working with supercars, you can't tell the difference between a drill machine and a Diablo SV, or you're just insulting Armour and his car.
No, I'm just
it's one of the
Armour and his car. No, but it did sound because it sounded so loud. 'Cause that's his car. And the other thing is, you've got certain noises of cars, right?
Yeah.
Anything can be loud. Doesn't necessarily mean it sounds
good. Exactly. Yeah.
So you got to have the popping and bagging. So for example, last night we have a Hertfordshire group, and one of our members, Shalin, he organised a little drive, and we had about 11 cars turn up. We had a couple of Hurricanes, my 360. My mind's gone blank, but the load.
Bunch of fancy metal. Yeah.
And we met up in North London off the M25, and we thought we'd go for Hatfield Tunnel. Have you been for Hatfield Tunnel?
Hatfield Tunnel.
Yeah, Hatfield underpass.
Yeah. Where the mall is as well.
Yeah, on top.
Yeah. Because I used to work in Hatfield on a used car buyer magazine with the TRMG group.
Right. So a few of us went through it at legal speeds, but are very loud, and it reverberates, and that's what we do. You know what? I mean, for me, the exhaust sound is part of having a car.
Oh yeah.
I test drove a Ferrari F8 a few years ago, and I was driving it around. I wasn't going to buy it. It was a test drive for one of my friends, dealers, and £240,000. It was red, beautiful, lovely car. I really like it. And I was driving along, and my habit is on the flappy paddle when I come over a little bridge or whatever, I pop it down a gear.
Yeah.
I like to hear it, right?
Yeah.
And instead of going, it was more like meow.
Yeah.
Meow.
Yeah.
Because they've strangled it. On my car, it sounds great. And if you're going to start, we can't go more than 70 miles per hour. I live in East London. I've got average speed cameras. If you want to have
exactly. So it's like it boils down to what is the fun that you can still have. Well, you can still rev the car, but then they even shut that down. So it's really annoying. But like you said, I mean, I think for petrolheads, there is nothing more evocative than a good sounding engine. And again, like you said, tunnels and bridges and stuff like that. Where I remember in the UAE, there was one great tunnel, and it was on the Kalba Road. So it was on the road from Sharjah to Kalba. And in the middle of it, just in the mountain section right at the top, there's a nice long stretch of a tunnel there. And, and it's about an hour's drive from Dubai. And if you had a nice car, you'd go there just for that experience. I mean, the road itself was great as well. So you drive the road as well. But also that experience of then getting to that tunnel, slowing right down at the beginning, and then, revving the nuts off it as you go through the tunnel. But that's just part of the joy. It's just part of the fun.
Well, we used to have, years ago, I'm not sure if they still do it, in piston heads.
Yeah.
They used to organise tunnel runs. where you wake up on a Sunday morning and you would just drive around looking for tunnels, and and just driving through tunnels. And there was people with different cars, sports cars, GT cars, supercars, and I did a few. It was great early in the morning, no traffic. But you can't do it now anyway because there's cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just nobody. Who wants to drive in London?
No, that's the trouble. And there's sound cameras as well. So I mean, they're not, they're measuring sound as well. So that's the other problem. So you'll get done either way, you know.
Yeah.
And it is a nightmare. I remember, like, back in the day when me and my mates used to go to college and stuff in London, and just we'd take 3 cars into central London and just bomb around all day in them. And I remember one time we encountered a Lotus Esprit. I think it was in East London somewhere, and we sort of looked across at him, and he realized that we're three young Asian kids in the car, looking at his car, and we're like, go for it, go for it. So he went for it, and as soon as he went for it, there was a police car around the corner, and we were like, oh damn. We're like, whoops, oh dear. Don't get baited. Don't get baited. That's the trouble.
I was once in North London, North Circular, where the Audi dealer is, and a tunnel on North
All
Circular.
right. Okay, I think I know
Yeah,
what you mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
on the left-hand side. So we're at the traffic light. So I was in a car, and I think my mate was behind. My mate was behind me in a 360 Challenge, red one, Ferrari, and I was in a 348. And I look over, and there was a guy. So we're parked in the right-hand of the lane, and there's a guy, young guy, in a car driving like that, and he sees the red Ferrari, he sees my Ferrari, and he's looking like that. Wow! And he smacks into the back of the car that was in front, and all I saw him was like go like this,
Yeah.
and it was so, and I just couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt bad for him, but he literally
Yeah.
was just looking at it, bang, and
Like, oh
like you
my
do with women when you
God.
see a woman, oh yeah, well, bang,
Yeah.
yeah, but with 2 cars.
It's the power of a red supercar. That's what it does, right?
Well, mine
But
was black.
there you go. Well, any supercar. Well, he's probably surprised to see a black Ferrari because that's an unusual sight in itself, right? But going back to these cars that were captured, we've got a couple of people commenting. Ibrahim talking about Hindhead Tunnel on the A3 is infamous for revving.
Yeah, it
So
is.
there's one. And then there's Hooked is commenting. I've never driven in around London. It sounds terrifying. Well, it wasn't back in the day. It was a lot of fun, but it is now. It's pretty bad. So going back again to these cars that were confiscated. I don't know if this is accurate, but one of the pictures, because they showed the 2 purple Lamborghinis, but one of the pictures that was circulating was of a red Ford Mustang. And the Mustang basically had, stickers all over it. And the stickers were Kuwait, Paris, London. So it's like, I don't know if the guy was overlanding, but I'm assuming that he was overlanding and he drove, or him or she or whatever, was driving this car across. Now, if that car had been driven into the border and it was confiscated because it didn't have insurance, then that kind of doesn't make sense because normally that should be checked at the border. That's where you're told that you have to get insurance, but to have that car, to have somebody, if he was driving across the world and he arrived in London only for his car to be confiscated, I think that's really out of order. I think that, okay, if he hasn't got insurance, then just park up for a few minutes. How long does it take to get insurance? Yeah, 20 minutes on the phone, you can get yourself insurance, right? Park up, sort it out.
Yeah, but you're assuming he's actually gone to those countries. I mean, how many people do we know got Nürburgring stickers on a car and they haven't even
True.
been to
Yeah.
wherever it
True.
is in Germany?
But
You know,
like last year, a friend of mine from Pakistan, and big up Pakistan Independence Day today, so everybody's celebrating that today.
Happy Independence Day.
Happy Independence Day. But a friend of mine, Galan Fraga, who's a legend in the motoring scene over there, and him and his mates, they drove from Karachi to London in a Toyota Hilux, a Revo as they call it over there, a Pakistani built one. And he made it over here in time for the Petrolhead Underground show in Wembley, and that's where I sort of met up with the guys and interviewed them. And the question that I asked them was that I think they've driven 13 countries, in something like 2 weeks or whatever. And I said, you've driven all these countries, which was the worst country to drive in? And he immediately, without hesitation, said the UK. Straight away, he was like, it's the worst. He said, we've been hassled, we weren't welcomed here, there's too many cameras, it's just a nightmare. And the funny thing is there was actually a police display actually at Petrolhead Underground, and there were cops there, and you could see the cars and you could talk to the policeman. And he actually just started having a go at the cop. He just said, because the guy was like, oh, well, then you've driven all this far. And he said, yeah, no thanks to you guys. It's like... And I was quite brave of him, but fair enough, fair play, you know. And he's this year again. He's driven into the same car. He drove it to Russia, then he drove it down into the Gulf states, you know. So he's doing around the world in this thing, you know. And he's just like, you know, to get hassled, you know, for one or two minor things when, you know, what you're doing is something quite epic and you're spreading the message of, you know, motoring, driving enthusiasm, overlanding, doing long distance drives. You know, it just seems to be like, yeah, like I said, you know, the
But
fun police, really.
when he said UK, did he mean UK? Did he mean London?
No, he meant UK. Because
Really?
because he'd driven in from, because obviously he'd driven in directly from, I think he came in by ferry, so it must have been, he'd driven in from Dover that day or the night before. And then he was driving around London. So here's the thing. So he goes to all these capital cities around the world, and he does like to drive around them and take pictures with the car and park up wherever he can and get pictures. Like he has a picture in front of the Eiffel Tower, standing on the back, waving a flag and stuff like that. And I guess that sort of thing won't fly in London. You know, it's really difficult to be able to do anything, to park up even for a moment anywhere, you know, and you know, sure enough, some parking attendant will descend on you or whatever straight away. So it's really it's not welcoming, is it?
No. So I'm just logging into my Facebook to see if I can see the video of what we're doing.
It's on Instagram, so you'll see it on Instagram. So we're live on Instagram, so that's Instagram right now. If you see this thing, so we've got people on Instagram joining us there, and Yusuf has been watching us. Renard, hello. Oshea, who was a part of my last actually Instagram live, he's on there, and he says that the sound camera will pick up lower noise allowances from this year. Oh, are they recalibrating the sound cameras? Are they in London? Do you know, Si?
I have no idea. Why do they recalibrate? To do what? To pick up?
Well, he says the sound camera will pick up on lower noise allowances from this year. So I didn't know they had reduced the allowances. What's the
Oh
allowance at the
no,
moment?
I'm going to be. I have no idea, but I'm going to be banned until
You're
later.
seriously,
I'm gonna. I haven't been there.
seriously.
I haven't been there for a while. But I'm going. So I can't even find it. No, I haven't been there for a while. I'm going to go down there. I've got a little switch. I've got a little hidden switch that
Yeah,
closes the valves, opens the valves.
yeah,
So I'll have to tiptoe around. But the cameras, I think they're in Knightsbridge mainly.
yeah. Knightsbridge, yeah, that makes sense. We've got Hooked on YouTube. He says, do you think classic cars would be welcomed at a supercar show, and are classics welcome in London? I'll let you answer the first part of that question, and I'll answer the second part.
Okay, a supercar can be a classic car. Um, so, okay, the problem, I mean, all right, so we've divided our club into supercars and classic. One's like supercars, another classic and sports cars. We get invited to lots of events around the UK, and the organisers will turn around and say, we would like supercars. They want supercars because supercars are a draw. So, for example, Leeds Castle Supercars, Brands Hatch Supercars, London Concourse Supercars. So we have to give them the kind of show. So if we bring a classic car, let's say, let's say a classic Mustang, you know, it's not a supercar really. We can't say that. You know, an old Ferrari is still a supercar, but it's a classic car. We can say yes. There is a little bit of kind of preferentialism, if there's such a word, a little bit of snobbery in it. We try and encompass everybody, but sometimes you do want, if we're doing a display, you do want Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, because it all looks like supercars.
Yeah.
The Purasang is not a supercar. The Urus is not a supercar. Audi R8 is not a supercar. And I was going to, it's
No, that's a contentious one.
right. We're going on to supercars now.
Yeah.
It's a great GT sports car,
Yeah.
right? What does
It's a Gallardo underneath.
it?
It's a
Listen,
Gallardo. A Gallardo is a supercar.
I could be Sylvester Stallone underneath. Doesn't make me Rambo, does it? Right? It's a great car, but it's the looks. When you look at it, it's that. So for a supercar, to be a supercar, it's part of it is the sound, number one, right? So Teslas,
Yeah.
part of it.
Out.
Part of it is performance. Now I get people who turn around and say, "Oh, can I join?" Sorry, your car's not a supercar, but it's got 1,000 brake horsepower. Hey, the space shuttle's got 40,000 brake horsepower. Doesn't mean it's a supercar, right? So you've got to have some power at least, right?
Yeah.
But then again, look at the 308, the old 308s.
Yeah, that's got no power at
229,
all.
but so power. So it's but it's mainly going to be looks.
Yeah,
That's
it's got to be the
part.
drama of how it looks. I think
Drama. Well,
is how it, yeah.
I used to do the 10-year-old kid test. Sorry, the 10-year-old kid test.
Yeah.
And
You really have to clarify this because you can't just leave it at that.
10-year-old kid.
You can't just go around saying I do tests on 10-year-old kids because that will get a shutdown.
10-year-old kid list. Those are the old days. Don't go.
Let's not go there.
So 10-year-old kid test is if a car turns up, right? Would a 10-year-old piss his pants or her pants? Let's be, would they piss their pants in excitement because of what they've seen? That's the test. Audi R8. Come on, it's an Audi. And I love Audi owners, and the Audi owners in my club always give me a hard time about it. I say, I love your cars. I would get one if I had the money. I would add it to my fleet because it's bloody more reliable than any Ferrari, right? But it's the looks. It still looks like an Audi.
Yeah. I just want to come back. I've got David, I guess from O'Shea. It must be David, O'Shea Automotive, and he's just clarified. He said OEM pipes need to be under 70 decibels for 2025 cars. Cars made before 2016 are exempt. So I guess they've set the limit now at 70 decibels. That's what's happening, I guess.
That's why with latest supercars sound shit.
Yeah. And what is it? The Duff 77 has just said, "You're Batman, Si." So he's obviously been to one of your events. So
I have my suit. I'm dying to get the suit out again.
Yeah, you have the actual suit from the movie.
No. It's not the actual suit.
Right.
No, it hasn't.
It's the Michael Keaton era.
It hasn't got Michael Keaton's sweat DNA in it. No.
Oh man, it's not worth anything then.
No, this is the replica of the Michael Keaton suit.
Yeah.
And my plan is, I've got this storage place. So I'm going to create a cabinet, put it in, and I want to collect the various versions. The next one is the Mark II version. I mean, I've got a bit of a tummy at the moment, but it has to go. But it's got the abs on the suit. But I want to have like 3 suits. The Michael Keaton. I do like the Val Kilmer one. What's the one? The Christian Bale one.
Yeah.
It's not really. It's a military outfit. It's not really Batman. Whereas the Michael Keaton, it is iconic. It just
it is. Yeah,
big
definitely
yellow thing. But it's really hot. It's really hot in it. And the biggest problem with it, I have to tell you, you can't go to the toilet in it.
No,
there's no zipper. So I have to. So you can't drink water. Otherwise, you want to go to the toilet. You've got to take the whole thing off to go to the toilet. But in the meantime, you're sweating buckets, and then just to destroy the whole.
So this explains why Batman's so angry all the time.
He's all angry. You have to put. So my ex-wife got me the eye makeup.
Right.
Black. She got me Chanel black eye makeup. So you got to do the eye makeup. The head piece is so tight because you got to put your head through the neck portion of it. The neck goes out like this.
Oh, I see.
And it's solid rubber, right? So when I first got it, I couldn't put it on, and I talked to the guy who sold it to me. I said, "I can't get it." He goes, "Baby powder. You got to put lots of baby powder." So you put baby powder in it, and then you pour it in. But then what happens? About an hour into it, when you're sweating away, the baby powder mixes with your sweat, so you've got white liquid coming down everywhere. At one point, I was standing around doing stuff, and I had like water coming. I thought my nose was dripping. There was so much water coming down with. But when you have it on, and I remember because I did it for a charity. It was for a charity thing, and I had 3 Catwomen whipping me, but that's a whole different story. But it was for charity.
That's a different kind of charity. Sounds like to me. But anyway.
And I put it on, and I'm walking through the hotel because we could do some photos. And literally, we walked through the restaurant part, and I could see all the diners eating the food, and then you just see the heads going like that, and it was just. And people walking through doing double takes, and it's fantastic. I'm going to. I am when the weather cools down. I'm going to. You should come with me. We'll get a few people, and I'm going to walk around central London. It just causes loads of people. They love it because it just looks. I do the voice as well.
Yeah, you got to do the voice as well. Yeah, yeah. Also, like you're the first Desi Batman as well, so that's the other thing.
You can't. Yeah, it's true. Batman.
Yeah, Batman, Batman. It's
Batman
like
G.
that's no, that's is it no? You Batman is for cricket. It's like
Batman G. Batman G. Yeah, 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 yeah.
you have to
Yeah,
go
I
out
guess.
onto the crease. You have to go out onto the crease to bat as Batman. That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Hope you're enjoying this video. Make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe if you're not already doing so. And support independent automotive journalism channels like mine. You can do that at patreon.com, coffee.com, or taking out a subscription right here on YouTube. Or you know what? Better still, you can go and buy my books. I've got 3 books out now. They're all on Amazon. They're all available to buy. More details on this are in the description, but buying any of these books will certainly help. Thanks so much for watching. So I got to answer the second part of that question because Hooked has come back and he said, my classic will be out of its depth. It's a 1972 Mark III Cortina Estate. Hey, big up the Cortinas. But I think just in terms of your second part of your question, where you said, well, are classic cars welcome in London? The funny thing is, I'm not kidding you, I'm actually seeing more and more classic cars. And classic cars, by that I mean specifically classic cars older than 40 years. I'm seeing more and more of those around London these days. And I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that they're exempt from MOT, they're exempt from ULEZ, etc., so you can drive them around without any issue. So, and I'm actually seeing more and more of them around London. So actually, bizarrely, the less efficient, the older cars are the ones that are going to be ruling when everything else is stopped. When everybody else is stuck in electric cars that run out of charge, the people in 40, 50-year-old cars are the ones that are going to be trundling along around London. We're going to turn into Cuba.
I see. I've got two minds of this. Firstly, I think yeah, we want more classic cars because at our age now, we look at these cars because it reminds us of our memories. And I like going to these car events where you have Leeds cars. I went to Bromley Pageant Motoring, and
Yeah.
the cars I'm looking at are the cars I used to lust after, or the cars I had, like
Yeah.
the Ford Capri or the Mark II Golf, and we really like them. The new cars don't do anything for me. But
I just interrupt you for a second because I was asked a question. I think it was at the panel last year at the NEC, and asked a question. The people were asking questions like, "How did you get into classic cars?" And I was like, "I didn't get into classic cars. The cars I liked just became classics." You know?
Yeah. Or we can't afford new cars, so we go for the old shit.
That's true. Yeah.
But
But yeah, it is. Yeah, no, like you say, it's the cars that you relate to.
there's a part of me that really hopes it doesn't happen. What I'm thinking is that we may end up going the way. At one point, I did think that we might be, if you like petrol cars, we will become like smokers. Like you got the smokers huddling
Right.
outside, stuck outside,
Yeah.
getting a puff, and we end up like
Yeah.
that. People, we drive past in our petrol cars. Everybody else has got electric cars,
Yeah.
and people are going, "Oh, look at them! Look at that for the environment." Look what they're doing. Dirty. Why you have that? Because one of the saddest things happened was a young chap I was talking to, and he was raving about Tesla. Before pre-Nazi Tesla.
Before Elon went mad. Have you seen the
Don't
bumper
say that and
stickers?
sue us.
Well, the thing is, the bumper stickers are saying it. I'm just quoting the bumper stickers because the bumper stickers people are putting on their cars is like, I bought this car before Elon went mad. That's a bumper sticker. That's not me saying it. It's a bumper sticker. So just for clarification.
Why would you? I mean, I've never driven a Tesla. The idea
Yeah.
fascinates me. Someone said to me the other day, "Oh, I was sitting in a Tesla, and it was like that." And he goes, "I did it 3 times. After that, it got boring." So, if you want the ultimate speed, fine. But I think because we are polluting the planet. Technically not, but that's what everybody reckons. That's what the media is saying. That's what the government's saying. We are going to be taxed out of maybe existence.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Why haven't they done it now? Because if they did it now, it'll put a lot of people out of jobs who look after cars, classic cars.
Yeah, because don't forget that the car industry accounts for a major slice of the economy, the major slice of GDP for the country. So you can't add a stroke to shut down the car industry. Although we are kind of heading that way because the car industry itself is imploding because it just can't cope with the speed of the transition that's happening. I think a lot of legacy car makers will die very soon, and I think the Chinese will dominate. And I think that's just an inevitable part of how things are going to pan out.
Who's going to die? Who do you think is going to die? Who do you think is going to be
Well,
out?
I think Jaguar's on the chopping block for a start.
I thought we were dead already.
Well, they've gone into hibernation. They've gone into hibernation, but they're supposed to come back in 2026 or end of 2026 with an all electric fleet. But whether or not they'll survive that, I don't know. But I think there are brands. I think Stellantis is wavering. I think a lot of brands within Stellantis are going to be in trouble. Even big fabled brands like Maserati and Alfa Romeo. I know they've always been on the edge, but I think it's now coming to a head for brands like those. And Maserati especially, because their sales have just dive bombed. Recently, because they've downsized to V6s and they've gone electric. Nobody wants an electric Maserati. Maseratis were acclaimed for their Ferrari-derived, beautifully sonorous V8 engines that they had in those cars. So it's just a bad move on their part.
Speaking of Maserati, MC20, what do you think?
Again, it doesn't do anything for me. I haven't driven one, but it hasn't actually done anything for me. I was a big fan of the Gran Turismo. I love the Gran Turismo, and it's interesting that after they put out a concept car. I can't remember the name, but that was supposed to be the next generation of the Gran Turismo. And then when they actually came out with a new Gran Turismo, it looks exactly the same as the previous Gran Turismo, except it's now downsized to a V6 and it's got or you get electric version. But that to me. That is a sexy sports car, the Gran Turismo, the classic one with the V8 engine. Sounds brilliant. Of course, it breaks down, warning lights come on, the electrics don't make any sense, but hey-ho, who cares? It's a great car. But the new generation of Maseratis, I don't think they're quite doing it,
Well, I've just Googled. I'm just on collecting cars now. So one of my friends and member, he's selling his MC20 on collecting cars. 4 days to go, and it's at £95,500. He told me the reserve. I'm not going to mention what the reserve is. And I tell you what, I was like thinking, wow, what value for the car. It's a grey,
Yeah.
but in the metal it looks really good. But that's the only car I can turn around and say that's a great, it's a great looking car, Maserati. I think it's a lovely car in metallic red. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. But then I'm thinking, would you buy that, or would you buy a 458? That's
the thing, and that's the thing. I mean, cars. I mean, it's like if you mentioned. Did you mention the SF90 or what car you were talking about? But SF90, for example, the hybrid Ferrari. I mean, that's a beautiful car. When you behold it in its presence, it's a beautiful looking thing. But when it drives off, you're like, what was that? So, and that's the problem. It's like, what are you buying the car for? What is the reason that you're buying the car? How do you relate to that car? And I guess that's what it boils down to, really. Even with the Audi R8, I mean, I know a lot of people, especially when it was, a few years ago back in the UAE, a lot of people aspired to get in an R8 because they thought that, for a lot of people, that was a cool car. And I'm always of the, being a car journalist and being somebody that talks to a lot of people that are interested in different cars, I always, of the opinion is like, people say, what car should I get? And I was like, well, what car do you want? What car do you actually want? When you look inside you, what car is the one that you want? That's the one you should get. And it doesn't matter if it's good, if I say it's good, if I say it's bad, if I say it's reliable, if I say it's not reliable. None of that matters. The reason you should get it is because you want it.
I get people asking me, I'm thinking of getting a car. What should I get? What should I get? I'm thinking of getting a Porsche or whatever. And I always say to them, you know what? You can buy yourself a Porsche, and a Porsche is a great car, 911. It will get you from A to B, A to C, A to Z every single time. Probably won't break down, right? And it's a great car. It's a great car. But if you buy a Ferrari, it will change your life. And that's the thing, because there's something about Ferrari. There's something, you buy the car, you join the Ferrari Owners Club, and you join our club, and then suddenly you're going to be meeting other Ferrari owners. You'll be going to events. This Sunday, I'm at Goodwood because there's a big Ferrari event organised by the Ferrari Owners Club. There's going to have hundreds of Ferraris parked there. Ferrari in September, you've got Ferrari Challenge Series, which Ferrari book a takeover at Silverstone. So you've got Ferrari racing again. You've got a couple of hundred Ferraris turning up when they did a racing. It's a great kind of thing, and it can be a lifestyle, And I would, I would like to try.
But even that. But even that.
I won't get rid of my Ferrari.
I mean, well, let me ask you this though, because you're right. I would agree with you up to the era of, say, the 488. But since then, do you think that the Ferraris, the latest Ferraris, they still have that, or are they starting to, things like the Pura Sangue and stuff like that, and the SF90? I mean, do you still
I,
think they have that cachet?
no, I would say buy a used one. You know, I
Yeah.
would say buy a used one. Don't buy a brand new one because look at
Yeah.
the 296s. Look at the
Yeah.
values of 296s. You know, SF90s don't think
Yeah.
they're doing that well
Yeah.
either. Um,
Yeah.
you know, you could go out, you could buy a 360 Spider for 50,000, a good one. 50, spend another 10 grand on it to make it immaculate. So you've got 60,000 per car. That's not going to depreciate a lot over the years. You know, buying a supercar, although like a Ferrari, is like musical chairs. That's the other thing I always tell
Yeah.
people. It's like, look, you know what? You're going to be one owner of many. And what's going to happen is when the music stops playing, you just got to hope that you're not the owner with the keys at that time because you're going to be standing there holding a big bill, you know. But you can have.
Okay, I'm just going to read back to you the Duff 77 because this actually comment doesn't make sense to me, but I think it might make sense to you. So he says Aston Martin, surely a bit more exclusive than your Audi, but with the exception of 177, Vulcan, Valkyrie, all considered sports cars, yet some 911s and Emira are super. Discuss. So I guess he's trying to go back to that definition of what is a sports car and what is a supercar.
All right, let's start with the Emira. If the Emira had a Ferrari badge on it, it would look like a supercar. It'll be a Mini Dino supercar.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a Lotus,
yeah.
though. I think it's a fantastic looking car. I think it's a great driver's car. Uh, I think they messed up initially when they started selling it because it alienated a lot of potential buyers. I knew a lot of guys who were on the list for it, and then when it comes to sales, Lotus factory should turn around and just read up and hire people who know who really know what they're doing because they just alienated a lot of people. So that was a botched launch.
In how? In what sense? How, in
They
what
kept
sense?
changing the game. So what had happened was I knew a load of guys when they saw the mirror, they were like, "Oh, I want a mirror! I want a mirror! It's great, great!" It was like £60,000, £65,000. What a great car for that value. Lotus looks
Yeah,
fantastic. Looks
65,
like a
70
Medina.
pounds. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then they started messing everybody out about the engine spec. Then the prices start going up. Then deliveries. Then there's non-contact. Everything was going wrong, and it just alienated. And loads of people just dropped out. They said, no, I don't want it.
Oh,
I don't want it.
really?
I don't want it. Yeah,
Wow.
so we had that problem. What was the first part of the question? He said Aston Martin. Yeah, Aston Martin. Some of
Yeah.
the
So I
cars.
think he's asking like, what? How do you define a supercar and a sports car?
Okay, so the Aston Martin 177. Yeah, that's probably a supercar. I would say that value comes into it as well to a certain extent. The
Yeah.
Vanquish. I put Vanquish in the supercar territory mainly because it's got the best sounding name ever. What do you drive?
Yeah. Yeah.
Vanquish.
Yeah.
Or what do you drive?
Vanquish. Yeah.
Interceptor Vanquish. So we put
Yeah.
that in because it just looks the part. In general, Astons, I think I'm still surprised they're in business. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. That's that. Well, I mean, they've got backing from the Middle East now, so that's kind of how they're hanging on.
They've
But
always had
honestly,
backing.
they should. I always felt that they should have been bought by Mercedes.
I agree.
because
I agree.
because
Yeah.
most of the electronics now is Mercedes on there. In fact, I think the engine on the Vantage is Mercedes as well, isn't it? So
I mean, I've got a DB9 in the back garden, parked in the back garden, as you know. Um, I bought it. I did the whole James Bond thing. I test drove it playing James Bond music. I had a James Bond mixtape.
got to be done. Got to be
Got me
done.
done. It's definitely not a supercar. I'm not even sure if it's a GT car, to be honest. It's a sports car. One interesting thing about DB9 was I thought it drove like a truck. But it's only when you pushed it that you really start. What I found is when I
Yeah.
really pushed it, that's when it actually came alive, which was really weird.
Yeah.
But it's been touchwood. It's been fairly reliable. It's a nice car, beautiful to look at, but it doesn't deliver as much. It's a nice car, but And the other thing that bugs me, that's really annoying me with Aston Martin, is the 007 connection. I'm just tired of 007 connection.
Yeah.
Most of these Aston Martin is obsessed with 007. James Bond is James Bond that. But going back to the question, yeah,
Do you think, and I'll give you my opinion, but do you think that Aston Martin is literally coasting on the James Bond connection? That's literally how it's surviving right now.
yeah, because everything James Bond is always James Bond related.
Yeah.
All the owners think they're James Bond. You know, I was one of them. I used to like,
Yeah.
I want to,
Yeah.
it's you know, it's a cool car. It is, I think, wasn't it Ice Cool in Top Gear? Clarkson made it Ice Cool. It's a
Yes.
great car.
Yeah.
The new Vanquish, won our Drivers Union Awards for the best current GT sports car for sale. You know, so let's say something. Looks a bit like a DB9, no? Sorry, DB12. You know, which
Yeah.
again, a lovely looking car. But when I had, if I had the money, I'd buy a Vanquish. But to me, when you look at it, you're looking at,
Yeah.
it's a £350,000 car that's going to be £90,000 in about 5 years, 6 years. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
They do depreciate pretty quickly, don't they?
But I would hate for Aston Martin to disappear. I think the brand are lovely. I think I think the cars, DB5, they're beautiful looking cars. And that's the thing I think what Ferrari have lost. Ferrari have lost that design, the beauty of the design. If you look at a Roma, what is a Roma? But it's just basically an Aston Martin, isn't it? You know?
Yeah. I mean, the Roma is actually quite a pretty car. I wouldn't say it's an Aston Martin.
Hey, it looks like an Aston, it's
But
an Aston Martin look.
there is there is a tradition. Yeah, but there is a history of Ferraris. Going back to the 250s and what have you, where they did have quite a generic look, a very generic 60s sports car type of look, which they then tweaked. Depending on whether it's a Lusso or a GTO or whatever. So there is a precedent for that. But that puts them, again, like you say, that puts them more into sports car territory rather than into supercar territory, which you get with the likes of an F40 or a Testarossa or even to an extent a 328. These cars to me, they did shout supercar. But now I guess a supercar is an all-encompassing term, especially as now in the hierarchy, we've got another one on top of that, which is hypercar. So we now have hypercar, supercar, sports car. So we have all of these different categorizations. But I think ultimately it's down to, what do individuals, like you say, it's the 10-year-old test, isn't it? It's like the 10-year-old kid test. What is their reaction when they see the car?
I mean, Koenigsegg, Pagani, hypercars, beautiful cars. When was the last time you saw one in the road? You see them at car events here and there,
And that's the other problem, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, again, it's about where you are. There's a comment from the Poison Dwarf. It thought you were James Bond. Illusions shattered. So that's directed at you. But it depends where you are. So, for example, going back...
sorry, the Poison Dwarf, right? That's Yusuf.
Yeah.
Right? He just had an operation.
Oh, is that Yusuf? Oh, okay, fair enough.
He had an operation this morning, so he's probably still under the anesthetic. So he's still a little bit crazy.
Oh, is he? Oh, my goodness. Well, sending our best wishes to Yusuf and hope he's doing well and recovering well.
And I'm Batman, not James Bond.
Oh, there you go. Fair enough. Then you need to get a Batmobile next. So that's what needs to happen. But just as we need to start to wrap this up, but I think that again, that whole definition. I guess that we could go on and on about that. But I think ultimately it's down to how a car makes you feel. And I think that the reality is that I'm not sure that the next generation of these supercars will elicit the same response or reaction as the cars that we've had previously. So, but then that might just be a generational thing, and I might just be getting too old.
Well, look at what happened on Sunday at Brands Hatch. So for everyone who's listening or watching, it was Festival Italia at Brands Hatch. So as partners of Brands Hatch, we brought about 75, 80 Italian supercars, Ferraris and Lamborghinis to the event. And we also did a demo display where the cars go around. We had about 22 cars in each demo. And then at the end of each demo, 2 demos, one at 12, one at 3. At the end of each demo, all the cars are lined up. The show is actually hosted by Shazad, very kindly for us. He does a fantastic job. And then we asked the public, there's hundreds of people there, to vote by cheering whose got their favourite car. Not the best car, but their favourite car of that session. The winner of the first one was a 275 GTS, and the winner of the second one is a Countach. And you had an SF90, you had modern Lamborghinis, you had a couple of 360s, you had lots of newish cars. But the oldest, there was a Pantera as well. But the oldest cars, two oldest cars, what won? What does that show you?
They were getting the most love. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think it says a lot. It says a lot right there. Yeah. But
You know.
anyway, on that thought, let's leave it there, and we'll catch up again really soon. Thank you, everybody who joined us today. I hope you enjoyed this.
So, everyone.
So this is a live stream that went out. I don't know if it's going to stay on the Instagram, but I think it will stay on the YouTube. Again, this is the first time I've done it this way, so this is why I'm not quite sure. But what I will do is I will also download this video and I'll put it up as a separate video as well on YouTube. So if you missed it, you will, even if you didn't catch the live one or it's not available, I will be able to download this and I'll put it back up again so everybody can catch up with it. Do let us know if you enjoyed it. Do let us know what you thought of this, and do let us know if you're enjoying these therapy sessions, and I should continue them, and we'll get some more people involved, and we'll sort of really explore the frustrations of us car guys in the early 21st century as we see that transition over to a completely new form of mobility. But thank you so much to Sai from Drivers Union for joining us today and taking the time out. His busy schedule between sitting in a Ferrari and sitting in an Aston and deciding what to do next. Etc. Dressing up as James Bond or dressing up as Batman, who knows? I don't know what he gets up to do in his bedroom. But anyway, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you all again soon. So take care. Shout out time, guys. Thank you so much. Hey, if you enjoy my content, why not get involved? Buy me a coffee. You can do that at either of these links. Or if you're watching on YouTube, buy me a thanks or take out a membership. It all helps. It really does.